Hello and welcome to Gender Nebulous episode 35.
Hello.
It's me, Victoria Hodges, and my lovely co-host, Miss Freda Wallace. Hello, Miss Freda Wallace.
I'm just recovering from a very busy week. Well, a very busy last 3 days.
What have you been doing?
Been in Manchester. We went to, well, you came to the LGBT Foundation.
Yeah, that was on Wednesday.
International Women's Day.
Yeah, it was good. LGBT Foundation, you're on a panel, weren't you? Being quizzed.
Yeah, we
quiz
talked
master.
about this, didn't we?
We did,
on the live
pod.
one and a little bit. But yeah, it was just nice to be invited to something like that, you know, as a trans woman, and then be involved in like an inclusive International Women's Day event. But predictably, when I posted about it on Twitter, you know, the usual comments were like, "Oh, why are you doing International Women's Day? Because you're not a woman."
I was just looking at that before we went live. Should we just read out some of the? Should we just read out some of the comments?
Yeah,
just to give an indication of what it's like. So okay, so I'm on your page. You've put the Sugar and Spice International Women's Day panel advert thing, and then first comment comes in, somebody asking why.
Yeah.
And your reply, why not? And they say, it's for women. And you say, yes, it is. And then there's another question, another comment. You're not a representative of what women are.
Well, who's a representative of that, you know? I know what they're getting at, but it's just read the room. Do you know what I mean? It's an LGBT Foundation event, so it's an inclusive event, and what they're doing is really important. It's like because they put out some documentation and literature and information, so people can understand diverse. It's not just about trans. It's about diverse women from all walks of life.
Well, somebody else posting something goes, are you speaking as a trans person, or do you think you're entitled to speak as a lesbian? Because we all know what the prerequisite for being a trans woman is.
I'm not sure what
Can't you wait for International Men's Day? You know,
well,
it's
that's interesting because it's interesting that.
But that it's advertised. It's advertised as an event for LGBTQ plus women, and you're invited to go, and you qualify, and you're on that list. So, it's like you can't even have a space for yourself without these idiots complaining. It's like...
Well, even something as simple as that, just to go and like sit in front of people and have a night... Because I just think of it as a nice conversation,
Well, everybody there was really nice, and they were all asking questions, and, it was a mixed audience.
We will show... I think we'll put it on the...
Yeah, when it's out, they said we could share it on the pod, so we will do.
I mean, I felt I did get a bit of an imposter syndrome, with it, because I've never done anything like that before, and I'm not really representing work because
Well, you weren't there for work, were you? You were there for you.
No, but they wanted
who
to
you
talk
are, and you're a volunteer.
Yeah, they wanted to talk about what I do, and see my approach to it is like I'm just here to represent my what I do is not necessarily exceptional or, amazing. It's just that I've managed to exist.
You exist.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, existing is enough, isn't it, these days?
You know what I mean? And that's a good positive thing. I think you can be an activist, and you can be a famous kind of advocate. But I think if you're just getting by, I think in this kind of climate, it feels like an achievement. So
yeah, no, it was good. There was yourself. There was a young lawyer.
Yeah,
and there was Meg.
Meg Lightheart.
Yeah,
from Indigo. Yeah. I'm just looking at the because I couldn't remember when we spoke about this on the live one.
Yeah.
I forgot the name of the person, and I felt a bit bad about that, so I was looking for it. And it's like so hard to find basic information, like honestly, because like the original, the Eventbrite thing.
Yeah,
I can't find.
There's only you and Meg listed on there.
Yeah, it's weird that.
I think it's because they hadn't had confirmation from the others at the time.
And there was supposed to be somebody
There was
else
supposed to
there
be somebody else who
couldn't
didn't make it too.
but,
Yeah.
but
anyway,
it was nice and it was good.
Anyway, it's
And
going
it
to
was
come
good.
out. The video is going to come out, so we'll get all the details
And
when it does.
also, I've just realised I've opened the wrong link there. Sorry. Yeah, on yesterday, Friday night, I did an open mic.
Oh yeah, how did that go? That was
poetry, spoken word.
Which
It's
one
a really
did you
nice.
do?
Do you know what it was? I did the transgender lesbian sperm producing female, and it just really worked in that queer space, you know.
So where was it? The room looks quite interesting.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. It was at the Home Arts Centre, and it's absolutely beautiful in there. It's like this glass-fronted building, and where the room was that we were doing it, we were right in the corner of the building, so it was like glass all round.
Yeah, it looked like a nice room.
And I took a photo of the city. It looks amazing. I've not been able to put anything on Twitter yet because I'm still banned for 7 days. But I went up, beautiful room, and
you got a rapturous round of applause, so that's good.
Yeah, I think I'm getting better the more I do.
Well, it's quite a long poem. You have to remember the whole thing, don't you? You weren't carrying your phone or anything, so yeah.
Yeah, I like to sort of occupy the space when I perform, and I like initially when I started doing it, I'd read it off a piece.
Is that poem in your book of poems?
No, it's not. That
is that a more recent one?
The book of poems was I printed that a year or so ago. So the stuff I've written, that one, the transgender lesbian one, is a more recent one.
So volume 2 is coming out soon then?
Might do. But I've not performed the stuff that's in that
There's a lot in there. I had a look through it yesterday. There's a lot of stuff in there. There's a really short one about JFK.
Yeah.
It's like one line.
Yeah. Jackie did it.
Yeah, Jackie did it.
That's my theory.
Oh, that was quite a funny one.
Yeah, that's my theory about JFK. That Jackie had something to do with it. Yeah.
She was in the car though when it happens. How did she do that?
No, there's something fishy.
It wasn't Jackie.
Anyway, let's not go down the conspiracy JFK rabbit hole.
Yeah, other conspiracy theories are available.
What I was going to say is that I had a bit of trouble, because I drank too much over the week.
Not really.
and the hotel I stayed in was like really nice, and I spent way too much money because I had room service on speed dial.
Hey, you got to spoil yourself sometimes, haven't you?
Well, that was my holiday.
You're on holiday in Manchester?
Some people go on holiday and get on a plane and go. So I love hotels. I like being where there's a spa, there's a beautiful, restaurant, and people bring you stuff.
How was the breakfast?
Lovely. Yeah, I always get to.
Did you get the full English thing?
I just pile it on.
Pile on the sausages and the bacon and the eggs
I get
and
to
the fried
table
and everything. You do realise you can go back and get more. You don't have to pile it on. Yeah.
Well, I think it must be that trauma of being a child and
grab it while it's there.
Yeah. So, I was going to say, I think I've put a stone on this week.
Oh my word! There's no hope for you.
So yeah, I won't be spending that much money for a while, but that was my little holiday, man. Because I knew I had 2 or 3 things I wanted to do. I'd see people and be sociable.
Didn't you go to the art? Is there an art museum? Did you go to the art museum?
I went to Manchester Art Gallery. Yeah, I just had a look around. The best thing about any art gallery is the gift shop.
Of course.
So that's my favourite bit. Yeah.
Did you get me some fridge magnets?
I was going to buy some, but do you know what? I just like looking.
Is it? But, so what famous artwork is in there? Has it got Lowry stuff in there?
They've got a few Bacons. Francis Bacon's my favourite in there.
You're talking about breakfast.
Newman. They've got Tracy Emin stuff in there.
Any Lowrys? Any Lowrys?
Most of the Lowrys are in the Lowry Centre in Salford now.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think there are any Lowrys in Manchester Museum because of that. You've got the pre-Raphaelites in there. So brilliant. So I think there's a John Singer Sargent painting in there.
So Manchester as a tourist destination is pretty good then.
Yeah, because that's what it's
Yeah,
like for
because
me.
people
Like,
do come to Manchester as tourists, don't they? So
yeah,
it's
yeah.
no different.
Like when you go to a city in Europe, where'd you go? You go to museums, you go
Yeah,
to
museums,
chapels and
art
churches.
galleries, nice
But Manchester
restaurants,
has got
etc.
some really interesting.
It
I
does.
didn't get to go to everything, but there's some really interesting
So you didn't do the
buildings.
Coronation Street tour or anything like that?
No, that's not. That wouldn't really appeal to me. I'm a bit more highbrow.
Mm. I didn't
But
realise you
what's
could get
funny
higher
is
than
like
that.
before I went on to do my poetry thing, I was just in the bar and I just got talking to this lady just randomly, and it was just so nice, because like if you were on holiday somewhere, that's the sort of thing that would happen. But because I'm in Manchester, it feels like I am on holiday because I'm just randomly bumping into people, being a bit of a, passerby and an observer of things. And that's when I get the ideas to write things. Like if I'm just
Yeah,
sat in a comfortable bar and I'm watching people coming and going, it gives me ideas because my brain isn't in a work mode. It's in a total kind of, well, I'm
you're
probably
in
half
tourist
baked.
holiday mode, so you can think.
Half baked.
Yeah, it's the alcohol that helps, probably. Yeah.
And my boyfriend let me down,
Oh,
so
well, we don't need to talk about him.
yeah, we do because he might be listening. No, he's not really my boyfriend. He just turns up now and again when he feels like it. Yes, I'm talking about you. Right.
Right,
So
moving on swiftly. Should we talk about the news articles?
yes, because yeah,
Right.
I'm interested. Uganda. We're
Well, I
going
haven't
all the
got it
way
on
to
screen
Uganda.
yet. Hang on. Slow down.
We're flying all the way to
Here
Uganda.
we go. Here we go. So, first one. Uganda considers bill to outlaw identifying as LGBTQ plus because ban sex doesn't go far enough. So,
Mm.
just some. I'll just read out the background on this one. Uganda's parliament is looking at tightening its stance against queer people by hearing a bill that would criminalise identifying as
Mm.
LGBTQ plus. Lawmakers say the current ban on same-sex relations, which is punishable in the East African country by up to life in prison, doesn't go far enough. Uganda's strong religious and conservative roots mean that there are deep anti-LGBTQ plus views in the country. The Ugandan parliament previously tried to recriminalise homosexuality with a law in 2013. However, the following year it was struck down by the Supreme Court, which ruled the legislation was wrongly passed and contravened the country's constitution. The 2023 anti-homosexuality bill includes prohibiting touching another person with the intention of committing the act of homosexuality. There's a phrase for you.
I mean, who's going to
The
define
intention
that?
of committing the act of homosexuality.
Yeah.
And
I mean,
people found guilty of the offence of homosexuality face up to 10 years in jail. So, God,
right. But the
talk
thing about
extreme.
these things is like, these British colonial,
Well, it is one of the British colonials. Yeah.
they've got like Victorian kind of,
They've not
and
updated the laws since time began.
but the thing is, like, just when there are laws like this, it doesn't stop people being gay, does it? It doesn't stop people
It doesn't
doing
stop
things.
it. It goes
It just
underground even further.
yeah, and it makes people suspicious and like paranoid, and it must
Yeah.
be horrible. It's not.
Imagine living in a place like that.
Laws don't change that. It's like when you think about the kind of rhetoric we've been hearing from our government, you can see how easy it is to slip into those kind of. I mean, I'm not saying that this government's going to start making homosexuality illegal, but there are certain people
Don't give them ideas.
in government and these bonkers baronesses that we constantly hear about piping up. They actually do want to do that, and they would be happy if children were allowed to read books about same-sex relationships and same-sex marriage. That's where we're at. But when you look at countries like this, it's all right for us to say, oh my God, wouldn't it be awful to be there? Isn't it awful for them? But actually, on a sliding scale, it's quite easy to, people can vote people in who can roll back human rights. And I know it really frightens me that, because if the trajectory of this government, if you took it to its natural, like its sort of momentum to its conclusion, you'd get something like Uganda. I'm sure Dominic Raab, who sending people to Rwanda.
Yeah, I mean, it's a similar thing. I mean, these two countries, Rwanda and Uganda, they both appear on there's a LGBTQ travel safety index, which is put out each year by Asher and Lyric. It's Asher Ferguson and Lyric Ferguson. I think I'm pronouncing Lyric properly. But they put out a list of the best and worst countries for LGBTQ travel. So, I mean, we'll show the list at the end because there's a few countries we're talking about today which are all appear on this list. So the worst place to go is Brunei. Second worst, Saudi Arabia. Then it goes Nigeria, Kuwait, Malawi. And if we go a few more, we start getting into some of the African countries. Gambia, Tonga, Tanzania. Keep going down the list. And we do get to Uganda, which is about a third of the way down the list. So it's not the worst place.
Well, that's
certainly not the best.
I mean, it must be like if you are gay or whatever, lesbian and trans or whatever, you just not be able to exist, would you? You just have
most
to
of these countries
either have enough money to leave.
You just wouldn't go. So Uganda comes in the same area.
That live there.
It comes in the same area as Morocco, Solomon, Ethiopia, Uganda, Papua New Guinea, the Maldives, Zambia, Algeria. Those are the same countries in the same.
It's interesting
part
though
of the
how world tourism changes politics. Like there are certain enclaves in Muslim countries where it is illegal to be gay, where there'll be a tourist area where the laws somehow don't apply because they realise there's a tourist dollar. And it's capitalism, ironically, that has forced them to face reality. I'm trying to think of like Tel Aviv and places like that.
Would you go to that place?
Well, I don't know. I mean,
it doesn't take much for you to end up in the wrong area, does it?
Yeah, but if I was going to go to somewhere like that, I wouldn't be going to test out their laws. I'd be going because I wanted to see something.
But you might end up falling foul of the law because it's illegal to be LGBT.
Yeah, exactly. But what I'm saying is, like, there are a lot of places in the world where there's architecture and art and things that, like, I remember reading about Afghanistan, and there's some like amazing artworks and architecture. And I was thinking, well, I'm going for that. I'm going because I want to see that. So would I change the way I look? Would I present a different way just so I could do that? No, probably not.
Well, I mean, this list exists for this very reason. Is it safe to travel? And what's the consequences if you something going wrong?
Where's Blackpool on that list?
So just getting back to the Uganda story. The Peter Tatchell Foundation has organised a protest to be held on Monday next week, the 13th, opposite Westminster Abbey, to voice opposition to the proposed legislation. The date marks Commonwealth Day, and the protest will take place as Commonwealth leaders and King Charles arrive for the annual Commonwealth Day service. So, once again, our friend Peter Tatchell is in the thick of it. There he is,
he loves
protesting.
Being in the thick of it. Didn't the king get booed recently? I saw something on the. Yeah, he turned up somewhere and there was like a load of people. No, they love him in Bolton.
So if you're anywhere near Westminster on Monday, go join Peter at whatever time you're doing it. It doesn't say the time, but
that's good. Yeah, I mean, it's crazy, isn't it? Like we're still living in the shadow of British colonialism. And those countries kind of, it's like, the AIDS and is still quite prevalent in certain places because they just don't believe in safe sex. because they won't distribute condoms and things like that. And
yeah, I mean, just on that, theme of the Commonwealth, Peter Tatchell has said he noted that it breached sections 2 and 4 of the Commonwealth Charter, Article 21 of the Uganda Constitution, and Articles 2 and 3 of the African Charter of Human and People's Rights. Ugandan activist Abi Kiwakanda from the Out and Proud African LGBTI group said they will fight the bill. Contrary to what the proposers of the bill claim, no one is recruiting anybody into homosexuality. The founder of African Equality Foundation, Edwin Sessange, called on Commonwealth leaders to speak out and hold countries like Uganda accountable and to respect basic human rights. Yeah, so it's... Yeah.
You see, on some level, I think, right, that what this country should do is let people come here. But when people try and come here and escape that kind of thing, what does this bloody government do? They get Rishi Sunak to stand on a podium that says "Stop the boats." You know what I mean? That's why people try and escape places where they. I'm not saying that like every, I know there's a lot of people escaping conflict, and there's lots of reasons why people.
Have you ever actually looked through on the UK government website the process of how to claim asylum? Have you ever read that? I look at it this morning just for interest, and it's such a stupid process because most of it is impossible. It's asking for evidence of being in the UK, like having a rental agreement, having this. How do you get that if you don't live here? There's just so much stupidity in it.
And it always annoys me. Like I've heard the term lefty lawyers this week again.
Yeah, well, that's what the government always refers to. Anybody opposing them who's a lawyer is referred to as a lefty legal. A lefty lawyer.
But they're not left or right. They just observe the law as it is.
They're just lawyers.
And if they can find a way to get somebody refuge, or they can find a way to make somebody safe, they'll. And that's their job to do that. But so yeah, if you're gonna have, I think people talk about Great Britain and what it means to be British and all that. If there's anything good about it, it's the fact that people want to come here that are escaping those kind of prejudices, but. I know it's not as simple as that.
Well, the immigration system is broken at the moment. It's ridiculous. Anyway, moving on.
Just wait till Elon Musk colonises Mars, and it'll just be a planet full of idiots.
Well, he can take all his idiot mates with him, can't he? And stay there. So this next one, drag queen Story, our founder, pulled from festival over safety fears after Tory MP's Facebook post.
Another Tory MP, surprise.
Causing problems, yeah. So let's just read out the bit of the headlines here. Drag queen Story, our founder,
Ada.
Sorry, yeah.
Ada HD
has been dropped from a literary festival lineup due to the threats of protest and complaints online. The Civic Arts Centre and Theatre, a registered charity, is to host Off the Shelf, a literary festival in Ostwhistle, Lancashire, on Saturday, the 11th of March. That's today. The festival was originally meant to include a reading by Dee, a children's author and founder of Drag Queen Story Hour in the UK, but organisers have taken the decision to drop her appearance amid mounting criticism. According to the Civic Arts Centre, the risk of public disturbance was extremely high, and the safety of Ada HD herself was also reason for the cancellation. We have not taken this lightly, as we truly believe it would have been a joyous event for anyone who attended her story time, a Civic Arts Centre spokesman told the PinkNews. Over the past couple of weeks, due to negative social media and increased risk of public disturbance, we have taken the very difficult decision to cancel Ada's performance at the off the shelf event. The statement went on to highlight that a now deleted Facebook post by a local Tory MP for Highburn and Haslingden, Sarah Britcliffe, in which she shared a Daily Mail article, resulted in more people threatening to both disrupt the festival and threatening ADHD's safety, according to the Civic Arts Centre. So here we have an MP who's basically been posting Daily Mail articles and pretty much inciting hatred towards
See, it makes me think there must have been quite a serious threat to the event and ADHD. I've forgotten. That's a performer name, isn't it?
Name, yeah.
But yeah, it must have been sick. But is this coming from a genuine place? Is this the people that wanted to attend this event?
Well, she's obviously read the Daily Mail article that, oh, that's terrible. I'm going to ban it. I'm going to stop it.
No, but what I mean is the people that are complaining, are they people that care about this event, or are they people that have been fired up? People like this, exactly. They're not like when this happened in Bolton.
I mean, the story in the Daily Mail was, why are councils getting drag queens to read stories to children? So it's obviously, I've not read it, obviously, but you know, it's obviously wound up this MP to such a state that they've decided that they're going to shut it down.
Well, the implication is there that there's something malevolent, or you know, they're associating drag queens because you'll see on libs of TikTok and all those kind of, you know, right-wing hype sites, they'll find an image of a drag queen and there'll be a little girl in the background crying, and that's the image that they'll use to say, look, this is what drag queens are doing. And I've seen people make videos that are totally fabricated, where they'll put two videos together from separate sources, so it looks like there's a stripper type drag queen doing something in front of children, but it never happened, you know. And it's like, this isn't what ADHD does. She's just somebody that's an entertainer.
She's like just dressed in a drag outfit.
It's not even. It doesn't even look like a drag outfit.
I mean,
to me. It's not even good. You know what? It's not even good drag, to be honest.
I'm not commenting on whether it's good or not, but I mean, it's just. She just looks like a drag queen would look, like how you'd imagine, you know.
No, I'm not saying
it's not sexualised in any way, as they accuse her of.
No, it's just another way to associate LGBT with some kind of threat.
So I mean, ADHD's comments to all this. So ADHD, who's a patron of Autistic Inclusive Meets, told PinkNews she'd received wrongful accusations of being a paedophile, with some even calling for her to be shot as a result of the Daily Mail article.
Yeah, that's what I was getting at, because this is not some people writing to the organisation or the venue to complain. This is serious
threats. Yeah, the hate is on. She's saying the hate is on Sarah Britcliffe, and the Drag Queen Story Hour UK are seeking legal advice on how to proceed. A spokesman from Drag Queen Story Hour told PinkNews. Commenting on the Tory MP circulating the 6-month-old Daily Mail article. So it's not a recent article, it's an old article. Mm-hmm. Drag Queen Story Hour said, we would like to ask Sarah Britcliffe if it's the job of an MP to incite hate, and if she understands the damage she has done to her own local LGBTQ plus people and the LGBT youth. Is she one of those
like Miriam Cates type people?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, honestly, they're really dangerous, these people, and it really annoys me when you see them on like serious political debate shows like Politics Live, and nobody's criticised, nobody's stood up going, what the hell are you talking about, you absolute moron? And because it's the BBC, usually nobody's there to do that, and it's like, that's what needs to happen. You know, it's like, sit down, shut up, and come into the 21st century, you moron. That's the only sensible way to talk to these people. But when I do it on Twitter, they ban me for a week. But somebody's allowed to call me a sexual predator because I'm trans, but they get away with that.
Yeah.
But I'm not allowed to call somebody a gobshite when they are.
Don't talk to me about the BBC. Anyway, next story. This is a bit of a better story. This is more kind of a happy story. Victoria's Secret. God, I was priming you there to ask me what the
what is Victoria's Secret?
I can't tell you. Victoria's Secret prays for a runway return with trans models. Runway return with trans models. We belong on every runway. So this is the return to the well-known runway show after a 4-year break. Lingerie brand Victoria's Secret is bringing back its runway show after a 4-year break and aims to be more inclusive by featuring trans and plus size models. So there you go, Freda. We can join in now.
Well, I didn't tell you before, but I did get an email from Victoria's Secret, and they did ask me if I would be a model. But
because you're plus size and trans,
I sent me pictures, and they said, "Oh, it's a bit too attractive." So couldn't do. Seriously though, have you been in Victoria's Secret? Have you seen the stuff they sell? They said,
"Yeah, I have been in Victoria's Secret. I don't think these have my sizes, to be honest."
I'm not buying knickers from there. I'm buying them from Marks and Spencer's. They come right up to here. Do you know what I mean? I like to look nice now and again, but the stuff they sell in there, it's like, it reminds me of Ann Summers, some of it. It's like, give me a break. But anyway, I think it's great that they've got a trans model. I think that's, it's obviously I think that's brilliant.
No, it's good. So in a bid to claw back its customer base after a drop in ratings in 2019, Victoria's Secret will launch a new version of its show to reclaim one of our best marketing and entertainment properties and turning it on its head to reflect who we are today, its bosses said.
But they do know, don't they, when they do this, when they do a campaign.
I mean, it's a bit of a marketing thing. But
they'll have been sat around a table and go, what can we do to get more attention?
Yeah, let's get some plus-size trans models in.
Let's get Freda Wallace to model. That'd do it.
Doesn't actually. The article does not mention your name. I'm surprised.
Well, that's because I told them not to.
Yeah.
Because I got that call and they said,
So trans models Valentina Sampaio and Emira de Spain, the latter made history last year as the first black trans model to work with the clothing and beauty retailer, will feature in the upcoming show. So yeah, that's good.
Yeah, I think it's good. But it's all marketing.
It's marketing. It is marketing, but it's inclusive, like a bunch of good.
But yeah, but
I mean, the thing is, both these trans models are absolutely gorgeous. So.
But
I'm really not expecting a call from Victoria's Secret to come on.
But are we leaning into a kind of beauty standard thing where, because like cis-normative, heteronormative trans women, okay, it's
Victoria's Secret is well known for its skinny models.
Yeah, I understand that.
If they're now embracing plus size and other.
Of course, if you're going to advertise underwear, you're not going to choose somebody that's looks a bit out of shape in it. That's just the way the world is. But what I'm saying is, like, are they using trans women positively, or are they exploiting them to a certain level? Because I know it's an opportunity, because these trans women are probably models anyway.
Yeah.
And if I was offered the kind of money that's probably on offer, I probably would have said, yeah, go on, but they're not going to ask me.
But it's just, the brand is expanding its inclusion. I think that's the story, isn't it? I think that's the good news. I know it's marketing. I know it's marketing.
But I'm a bit more cynical. I'd be like, yeah, whatever. There'll be trans women advertising chocolate next.
They will. Can you imagine?
We'll be advertising everything.
So this next one is a bit more serious. This is, I don't know, you and I both work for large organisations, and there's an article here about want to work for an inclusive company? Here's how to evaluate its commitment to diversity. So I know my company has lots of ERGs, employee resource groups, and lots of things they do. They attend prides. They do a lot of stuff. They could do more. I think any company could do more if they wanted. I think they do what they can get away, minimum, what they can get away without being criticised too much.
Yeah, I think the test is really if you feel supported. Like if you,
that is true.
like I think trans is like a benchmark, isn't it? Because you
Well,
you know,
I
if you,
mean, a few years ago it wasn't even considered, but now there's
yeah, but
transitioning at work policies, there's inclusion policies, there's bullying policies, which all take it into account. So I mean,
but
we have progressed.
when you come out at work as a trans person, you kind of do change your identity. You change the way you dress, possibly. You might change the way you look a bit, and so it there's a sort of tolerance test there, isn't there? Because some people, obviously, as we know, are very much against it and they don't really accept it. And whereas, like, some companies, there are some, I know there would be some places, if I worked there, I would leave if I had to go through my transition. I'm quite lucky I work for an organization that's inclusive and
Yeah,
promotes diversity, and they have all the checks and balances. And like when I speak to my managers about, they don't always understand what the whole issue, but they're willing to listen. And that's the main thing.
yeah. This guide is kind of handy because it kind of gives you some kind of guidance as to the kind of things you should be looking for if you're thinking of, applying at a certain company or changing jobs or something.
But
So
it's all right saying your company's diverse and all that. But if you have an issue on the ground, like say, I'd like to think that if I was working with somebody and they were just rude and horrible to me because of my identity, that would be the instance where that would be the moment where I would find out whether I was supported or not. It's all right handing out leaflets and
yeah,
having
so
a
when it comes down
pronouns
to the
day and
real
doing
nitty
all that,
gritty, yeah.
paying lip service to things. But if I was in a situation where I was actually being threatened and somebody was like, being less than polite, and I feel I need to because the thing is, when people are like that, it's never just about trans. If people are intolerant, they're intolerant of lots of things. And a company like I work for wouldn't want somebody like that, such a public facing role, because it's not about just who you work with, it's about how you interact with the public. So if you know there's somebody there that's intolerant, that's going to mean they're going to be prejudiced to other groups, not just trans. That's why they put me in training sessions, because our manager says,
Freda.
we'll put you there because if they can handle me, they can handle anything.
Let me just read out some of the article. So you may have heard of conscious quitting, deliberately leaving a job because your values differ from your employer's. It's a trend that's becoming more common in a post-pandemic world. The Net Positive Employment Barometer found that 45% of employees in the UK would leave a job if company values didn't align with their own, and 35% have previously quit a job for this reason. The number jumps to 48% amongst Gen Z and millennial employees. However, many companies make vague and unverifiable claims about their commitment to diversity and inclusion. This creates a challenge for people to confirm it's a company that truly values diversity and is actively working to create an inclusive environment. And then they go on to kind of give out the tips. I'll just read out the headlines. I'm not going to read all the tip information, but it's like, check out employee reviews. Yeah, good one. Research the company's diversity initiatives. Check out the company's leadership team. Evaluate the application and hiring process. Assess the company's benefits and policies. Look at the company's public statements and actions. Yeah, so I mean, those are all. I mean, there's
and this is why
there's loads of information there if people want to read it.
People are often cynical about corporate kind of flag waving, and they call it, it's a
Pinkwashing.
I mean, when they get the rainbow flags out once when it's bright. But I think this is mostly positive because what it does, the sort of byproduct of it is, in a way, like if somebody is a bit of an arse, they'll show themselves to be an arse when anything like that happens, because it's, I don't want anything to do with this. It's all, the gays are taking over.
No, but it's really important thing to think about, because I know my company's it's looking at why certain groups of people don't apply. It's a very it's an engineering company, so it's a very male orientated population of workers. So they're trying their hardest to bring in, more women through various initiatives. They have a real focus on apprenticeships and STEM subjects, and they're looking at how they can be inclusive in their recruitment campaigns.
Yeah.
So they are trying. They are trying.
I think this is why it's important. Like when I went to a festival last year called the Blue Dot Festival, which is at Jodrell Bank. And the thing that impressed me about that festival, it's like an education festival. And they did this thing about it because they got groups of young girls.
Is that organised by Jodrell Bank or just in the same grounds?
I'm not sure who the organisers are, but it's a very family orientated kind of festival, and they were trying to get young girls into science. That was one of the themes for the festival, and it was brilliant. And it was thinking like about getting a more diverse workforce into those kind of STEM subjects. And it's really good.
I think this kind of thing, how is your company inclusive? I think that's it's really important for people to who are looking for work or just entering the workplace.
Yeah, I might write to Victoria's Secret and say, why are you not employing us?
Yeah, where's my invitation? No. I don't think you have to be called Victoria, so you might have a chance, Freda.
Well, it's one of my ambitions. No, it's not really. It's good when, the thing is, though, like listing a bunch of companies and saying these are the best. I mean, you could work for a company and it could be quite a small company, and you just by being the one trans person or the one openly gay and organizer of events, that changes that whole company. Do you know what I mean? We work for quite big organizations, so there probably are LGBT groups within those.
Yeah.
But I was saying a lot of people.
A lot of smaller companies don't have them at all. No.
A lot of smaller companies won't have them, and it will rest on that one person one day saying, "Hey, can we do something for Pride?" And that is it, And then from then on, that company, no matter when it gets bigger and bigger, well, the hope is that they will keep that ethos. So there'll be somebody in a company now who's just starting up. And depending on who the managers are and who the investors are and all that business, that will depend whether that company is diverse or not.
Yeah.
And I know when you get into the realms of big companies, it's all about employment law and things like that. So you have to have.
It's more of a focus. Yeah.
It's not that they care about you; so they don't want to get sued.
Yeah, it's like don't sue us. All right, this next one.
Moving on. We've solved that one. Next.
So this is the thing that Jess Phillips did in Parliament last week.
Oh gosh.
Around the Brianna Ghey. She was involved in it. So Labour MP Jess Phillips includes trans girl in list of women killed over the past year. Labour MP Jess Phillips included trans girl Brianna Ghey in a list of women suspected to have been killed by men during the last 12 months, read out in the House of Commons. The MP has undertaken the task of reading the names aloud in Westminster during the annual International Women's Day debate. It took more than 5 minutes to read the entire list, addressing the markedly empty chamber. And I saw the video, there was about 13, 14 people in there. The MP said, "The first year I read the list of killed women who had been killed by men, none of the women's names sparked a moment of recognition for anyone other than their bereaved loved ones. This year, there will be names on the list that we've all heard of, women who, following their brutal killings, have become household names." So, just showing you how much worse it's getting. At the end of the reading, Phillips said, "This year we also remember Brianna Ghey as a young woman brutally killed, where a young woman and man have been charged." I think that's the difference. The main list was just people who had been killed by men. Brianna was added because she'd been killed by a young woman and a man, so it's slightly different circumstances. But
But
Still
yeah,
on the
obviously
list.
The backlash to that, I've seen the comments, and it's
Yeah,
like,
there's
oh,
some
why is she
horrendous comments.
included? And the reason they do that is because there are people that use the murders of women as a way to, like they'll say these are this is this is something trans women could never understand or face because these women are murdered because of but they're not murdered because of their biology. You know what I mean?
Well,
They're murdered because
she's been accused of politicizing
it's to
the
do with
murders of women
misogyny.
because she's included Brianna.
But they don't think that we
She's
should
been
be
accused of
in,
letting women down.
but they don't think trans women should be in the crime statistics in such a way. Like they think that like if something happens to us, that's a crime that happened to a man, so we shouldn't be in those statistics. But it's misogyny that drives those crimes, so we should be,
Yeah.
because the kind of, I mean, I don't know. I mean, it is a difficult thing to think about because it's horrible. We're talking about horrific crimes here, and I don't want to make any kind of flippancy about that. But
No.
what I'm saying about the way that the gender critical people play it is they'll focus on rape and murder of women as a way to say this is not anything to do with trans. You could never understand this. Do you know what I mean? It's like, yeah, we can empathize, and things do happen to trans women because we live in a misogynistic society, and we live in a society that rewards the brutality of men, like people like Andrew Tate. These are celebrated men, and when footballers are on rape trials, it's kind of glossed over. Like, oh, it's once it, if I don't, I mean, I'm not going to speak about any particular individuals because there are probably cases going on at the moment, but it's always like they're excused, or they're rehabilitated, or it's not taken seriously, and that filters
Yeah.
down to young boys who look up to these men.
So I mean, it does say that amid the backlash, there were many more people praising the MP for including Brianna's name on the list and acknowledging her death. I mean,
yeah, and it's still pretty raw, isn't it? Because the family is still going through it.
I mean, the funeral is next week.
Mm.
Yeah.
It's a long, painful time for that family.
Very much so.
And obviously you think about, see, we because we're invested in the trans world kind of thing. We know about Brianna, and I think there are probably other people, other women, other girls that have had similar fates, but we're not talking about them, are we? But it's not because we don't care about them. It's just because we grieve collectively for something we feel close to. That's all it is.
Yeah, it's just it just feels a little close to home in this particular case.
Yeah, it does, because we've all been harassed in the street. We've all been felt in danger, like, so I think we feel that when something happens. It's like the what happened with I forgot it. The Wayne Couzens, the police officer.
Mm-hmm.
And that murder, that
Sarah
rightly,
Everard.
Sarah Everard, that's right. And that rightly created a huge movement of women. And Patsy Stevenson, is it? The one that was pictured because she was arrested at that protest.
Yeah.
She was arrested. She was brutalized by the police at a protest about police brutality.
Yeah.
And none of those women there have any other focus than they're anti-misogyny, and trans women they recognise as part of that. Because Patsy Stevenson, is it Stevenson?
I think so.
I hope it is. She supports trans. She obviously does, and they hate that. They would love her to be on the GC side of this argument, but she isn't, because she's sensible. And she understands how systemic misogyny works. I think the words systemic and misogyny are my most said phrases on this podcast, because that's what it always comes down to.
Should do a word check.
Yeah.
Moving
Well,
on.
it's systemic misogyny and institutionalized misogyny, where it's normalized.
So, I mean, carrying on the theme of International Women's Day. Next story. Jill Biden honoured a trans woman on International Women's Day, and Conservatives absolutely
Surprise.
furious. Surprise, surprise. Right-wing politicians and pundits have accused First Lady Jill Biden of diminishing women after she presented a trans woman with an International Woman of Courage Award. Alba Rueda was recognised for her work improving the lives of LGBTQ people in Argentina. She was also the first openly trans politician in the country to hold a senior government position. I don't think we've had one of those in the UK yet, have we?
Wasn't there a politician last year that was outed, and then they said, "Oh, she's trans now." Something.
Yeah, there
Wallace.
was. Yeah.
What happened to that story? That seems a bit convenient.
Yeah, it's all disappeared, that one.
No, that was.
I think what they said was, whilst they're still a politician, they weren't going to change appearance.
No.
Or name or anything.
No, nothing's happened.
Bit strange there. Anyway, nothing's happened with that.
I'm actually going to follow that up, actually, and I'll look at that later. But yeah, so it's just it's one of them. Just another one of them stories where I just go, oh my gosh, anything that
there was, I think there was like 12 or 13 women.
Yeah, she wasn't
being
the only
awarded,
one,
and she's just one of them. But the right wing press just focus on that one issue,
Giving away prizes to trans women. Oh, what they'll be
advertising
advertising
the
chocolate
awards
next.
pay tribute to women from around the world who are working to build a brighter future for all, according to the State Department. Rita was one of several women named in the awards. Between January 2020 and May 2022, Rita served as the Undersecretary of Diversity Policies in Argentina's Ministry of Women, Genders and Diversity. And there's a picture of Jill Biden with all these women, and I'm assuming that's in the White House somewhere. But yeah,
well, it's a good thing, and it's it's another thing for right wingers to get all reactionary about and have a little fume for a few minutes.
But the anti-trans rants in the comments under the story are just horrendous.
Of course they are, but they're just predictable, aren't they? But the thing is, this person is still going to go on and do good work, prizes or not. You know what I mean? It's like, when are we going to get a politician in this country who's non-binary or trans and is openly, I don't think it'd be possible now. It'd be like, because of the climate that this government have created. I don't know. It feels really. Because there aren't many right-wing trans women, are there?
Here's like the typical anti-trans kind of response. I mean,
do we know any Tory trans women?
Show host Dana, I think it's Loesch, a former spokeswoman for gun rights group, the National Rifle Association, and an ex-editor at Hard Right Breitbart News, claimed in saying, "Nice of Flottus, First Lady of the United States, to encourage the diminishment of women on International Women's Day. Erasing women is abusive." And she's saying that in response to 1 out of 12 women getting an award.
Yeah, well, that's how they see it. They see it. If there's a Victoria's Secret model, if there's a politician awarded for doing something good, if there's a good charity that's run by a trans woman, that's how they're taking the prizes off women. It's like, no, it's like, it doesn't matter.
The other recipients of the award were from Afghanistan, Central African Republic, Costa Rica, Ethiopia, Jordan, Kazakhstan, Malaysia, Mongolia, Poland and Ukraine.
So what are these prizes? Just get a trophy.
If you look at the picture, it's just a little kind of...
A couple of vouchers for B&Q.
Yeah, B&Q vouchers and a glass vase or whatever it is. I think it's more the occasion than the actual thing they give you.
Well, it's good that people get recognised for the good they do. I mean, there's always that thing about prizes and awards and things like that, and it's like people are just going to do good things anyway. You know what I mean? But I think it's nice when people
Yeah,
get celebrated.
if you're doing it for the award, well, maybe you shouldn't be doing it. If you're getting an award because of what you've done and somebody wanted to recognise you, well, that's okay.
Should you think I'm wasting my time?
Yes, basically.
Where's my
Foiled
National
again.
Diversity Award?
No comment. Next
Anyway,
story. I think you'll like this one. This is our old friend Eddie Izzard.
Oh, he's called...
Eddie Izzard announced his new name, which she's wanted to use since age 10. Eddie Izzard has revealed a new name people can use to refer to her, which she has wanted to use since the age of 10. The comedian and actor turned politician shared the new name on Monday's episode of Matt Ford's podcast, The Political Party. That was another podcast. Matt Ford's podcast, The Political Party. I'm Eddie. There's another name I'm going to add in as well, which is Suzy, which is what I wanted to be since I was 10. I'm going to be called Suzy Eddie Izzard. So that's good.
That's great. We're going to call Eddie Suzy now. So she's Suzy
Eddie's now
Izzard.
Suzy. Yeah.
And she's had to change her email address and a website and all that. And she changed the name by deed poll? That's what I want to know.
Don't know.
It's not official. You can't just say you're Suzy.
Well, you can if you've changed your name by deed poll. But yeah, no, I think that's great.
I love Eddie Izzard, Suzy Izzard, because any podcast that they're on or any interview is always a good watch. Because I prefer that than watching the actual comedy. Because it's always really interesting. I remember the first time I ever saw Eddie Izzard, and it was on the Ruby Wax show. I remember that because I must have been really young, and it sort of stayed with me because it was so funny.
Yeah,
I recommend that if you can find it on YouTube.
Oh, probably can't. Been doing comedy for a long time though, really has.
Yeah, since 1992, I think.
Yeah. And then our last story for today is our old friend Justin Trudeau, Canadian Prime Minister, reaffirming trans women are women.
What's Canadian?
Sorry, what?
I said Canada.
Canada. Canada. Canadian. A Canadian from Canada. Justin Trudeau says trans women are women. In other news, the sky is blue and the grass is green. So Justin Trudeau has reaffirmed that trans women are women. In a statement after International Women's Day, the Canadian Prime Minister tweeted his support for trans women as part of the post marking International Women's Day, the annual celebration that aims to create awareness for women's rights. And yes, that includes trans women. Trudeau wrote that he wished to celebrate the women and girls of Canada who are fighting for their right to equality. In a separate tweet, he noted the rise in anti-transgender hate in Canada as well as around the world. So, I mean, we all know there's been a rise in the UK for sure. I mean, this ties into what we were talking about earlier, which was the list of the countries on that travel thingy. So,
yes, we've been around the world a bit, haven't we, with this podcast today?
Been around the world. So I'm going to bring into the.
So Canada's the top.
I'm going to bring into the screen the image of the list.
Oh, I can't see it, but I can open it.
Yeah, I think you've got the link, haven't you? So there's the list. And if you can see it's a massive list. It's a bit small on that screen, but let me just expand it a little. There we go. So if we start with the worst countries, and there's probably about 200 countries on this list. It starts at the bottom, well, at the top. It's in reverse order. So the worst place, Brunei, followed by Saudi Arabia, Nigeria, Kuwait, Malawi, etc., etc. So
where's the UK?
So most of these kind of like Middle East, African countries. If we go right to the bottom of the list, which is the most inclusive, safest places to go. Whoops, went straight past. In number 1 position, Canada, Sweden, Netherlands, Malta, Norway, Portugal, Spain, Denmark, Belgium, United Kingdom, France, Iceland, Switzerland, Ireland, Luxembourg, Sounds like European Eurovision Song Contest.
Yeah, you see, if you look at this list, like I'm just looking between Sweden and Iceland, Ireland. Look, they're all pretty much European, aren't they?
Yeah, right, Germany's quite low down. I thought Germany would have been higher than that.
Yeah, I did actually. But the thing is, what I was going to say is, a lot of these countries, don't they have self-ID law?
Yeah, we don't. Most of these do, apart from us.
Most of them do, don't they?
Yeah, and then the USA is way down the list. It's in 25th position, and it's got a note attached to it which says some states don't offer protections against discrimination or allow for a change of gender. Other states prohibit advocacy for homosexuality in schools. So they've got a bit of a negative note against them.
Yeah, and I think America, like this country, I think like that we've got something in common there with America in North America, is that we've gone backward.
We have.
Like I think in the last 10 years, there's been a rise in bigotry and politics of, this culture war politics has reversed.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the interesting things is there's not many countries with a zero rate for trans murder. Just looking at the list, the only ones that have zero: Malta, Norway, Denmark, Belgium.
You see another
Iceland.
reason.
All the other countries have had trans murders.
But you would also see that in the countries that don't even accept trans as an identity, because if I was to be born in Brunei, I would never get trans or female on my death certificate. So
no.
I wouldn't even show up in statistics.
So if you look at the countries at the bottom of the list, all those black dots you see there are negative things. You see how many black dots are there across the 10 categories.
Yeah.
And if you go to the bottom, those little dots start getting coloured in, and that means that there's something in place. So by the time you get to the bottom of the list, Canada, you've got a full house there. And I'll just read out the categories. It's legalised same-sex marriage. Is the red on the left. Orange is worker protections, protections against discrimination, criminalisation of violence, adoption recognition. Is it a good place to live? That one's a bit subjective. Transgender legal identity laws, trans murder rate, illegal same-sex relationships, propaganda, morality laws. So 9 and 10, you see are even shaded for Canada because they don't have such things. But if you go to the opposite end of the list, you'll see most of those countries have, 9 and 10. They do have those.
It's interesting
negative laws
they
in
put
place.
The trans murder rate there, and it's a no lesbian, gay, bisexual murder rate. I mean, I know that's more of a barometer of probably tolerance. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Do you know what I mean?
But then there's a map here, which is the worst and safety countries in map form. So the dark areas are like the worst.
The pinker the country.
The pinkest areas are the best.
Yeah, and it's amazing, really, because look, if you look at Finland.
Yeah.
And is that Denmark?
So most of Europe is pink, apart from one or two.
Yeah, and look at right next to it, just because you've got a border there.
Yeah,
you go from pink.
As soon as you hit Russia in the Middle East, it's all black.
Yeah.
It's like India, China, all around there is kind of dark purple. Australia looks good. South Africa, that's a surprising one. That's good. The rest of Africa is
that's
not.
because, yeah.
And then you look at South America. Surprisingly, most of South America is positive, that's interesting.
Yeah, it's interesting because they've had we talked about Argentina.
Yeah.
And they've had self-ID law there, haven't they, for a while?
Yeah, but Canada and Norway.
So are we moving to Canada? Is that what we?
Yeah, that's the plan.
What about Greenland? It's grey.
Greenland's grey because nobody lives there. I'm sure.
See, Isle of Man on there.
I have to zoom in a bit. Yeah.
Oh, it's a really good website.
Good website it is. I mean, it's not just that. It goes on there's all kinds of stats in it.
If you zoom into the UK, you see a little black blob between Ireland and England, and that's the Isle of Man.
I mean, this section here, which is what's changed for LGBT individuals over the past year, it kind of gives a list of some of the highlights, like Cuba legalised same-sex, Switzerland legalised same-sex marriage,
but if you
decriminalised homosexuality. There's Croatia passed laws expanding the rights of same-sex couples.
I mean, a lot of this data. It's a brilliant compilation of data, but how reliable is it? You know what I mean?
Well, I think it's a recognised website for its, companies quote it and use it as the kind of like the go-to thing.
But how did they? I mean, I suppose they just go off the laws that are in place and they look at the murder rates
cited too. So it's proper information.
But
I think they're a legal firm actually, Asher and Lyric.
Well, the thing I worry about, obviously, because it's where we live, is where the UK is on this. Because
Bolton's not listed.
But I want to see United Kingdom with Canada. That's something to aim for, isn't it?
Yeah, well, obviously we need to get the United Kingdom up the list.
So what do politicians need to do? Look at this, and
they need to look at the areas where they're failing, and trans rights is one of them. Because
we know that if things improve for minorities, like on this spectrum, they improve for everyone. It's not just about rights for certain groups, because all rights. You hear it a lot, don't you, on Twitter, that people will say, what rights don't trans people have? It's like, well, people are campaigning and petitioning right now to remove rights. And if you look at these other countries and look at what rights trans people have, that's what we're aiming for, Yeah,
we're fighting to keep the rights we've got. We're fighting for, Gender Recognition Act reforms because of the hideously complicated, unnecessary process that is.
But when somebody on Twitter says to me, "Oh, what rights don't you have that you feel entitled to?" I said, "I'd like the right not to have somebody like you feel like they have the confidence and the audacity to talk to me like that." Yeah, I think we should have our own trans laws. So if somebody misgenders us, we can send them to prison. I think that's what we need to go totally the other way. The worm
has turned.
Yeah. But anyway, that's an extreme view for comedy effect there. I wasn't being serious. Although there are a few people I would like to see behind bars.
Oh, we haven't mentioned the chocolate, have we?
Oh yeah, trans chocolate. You've eaten yours, haven't you?
I've eaten mine. I got.
No, I wanted
pink and blue. I note.
I actually wanted the limited edition one.
Yeah, you can't get them in the UK.
But I couldn't get it, and
you'd have to go to America.
I did look.
I think they're Canadian.
I did look on American websites, and even that they wouldn't deliver. So this is from But
I think it's actually a Canadian product. So you'd have to go to. There's our excuse to go to Canada and get some HerShey's chocolate.
It's not as bad as I said before. I said it tasted like.
I'll tell you what, it's really sweet. That one is particularly sweet. But hey.
We're doing a taste test.
Live on the podcast.
Now I've eaten this. My boobs have started to grow.
Wow. What's in it?
Hormones. It's just chocolate full of estrogen.
I'm going to check the ingredients carefully. Right, well, we've been doing this for an hour and 10 minutes.
Brilliant. I'm starving now. I want my tea. This is it.
So...
just hold up your Hershey again. Now, if you're listening, Hershey chocolate, send us some more.
Mine's backwards. Don't know why, but anyway.
It's not. It's the right way around.
I'm mirrored.
Oh, excuse me. I'm choking on Hershey's.
Don't choke live on the show, please.
I'm choking on trans chocolate.
So we will be back midweek, I believe.
And don't forget to subscribe.
Don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to like. Don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to like. Don't forget to tell your friends. Don't forget to tell your family. Don't forget to tell everybody you know to like and subscribe, basically. Yeah.
Right. Don't forget to subscribe.
So it's time to say
bye for now.
Bye for now.